All right, so Tony and I were talking about having you on last night, and we were talking about, things we love you in. Ratatouille, obviously. Parks and Rec, people love you from. King of Queens, Tony P. talked about Balls of Fury.
Yes, the best ping pong movie ever.
And then, sure enough, now the Epstein Files.
It is. Because,
even better than Marty Supreme?
Yes, I was going to ask you that. Like, do you think that Marty Supreme starts to get into that category? But Balls of Fury just has a real 2000s essence to it.
Marty Supreme is a great movie. It's not as funny as Balls.
Not even close. Yeah, like
they didn't even try.
Close.
They didn't even try to be. But now adding to that esteemed resume is a spot in the Epstein Files for anyone who watched you on Colbert last week. So how does that feel, and how does that kind of play into coming here to the DMV this summer?
God.
Yeah, that is going to be really interesting. Being back in DC when yes, I am in the Epstein Files. I'm in the Epstein Files for an awesome reason. He was, I guess he was planning a screening with him and his creepazoid friends, and they were planning a screening of a movie that I was in called Young Adult. So clearly they were excited about, Young Adult, and then they go see this movie, which it's a great movie, but...
It is a great movie.
But there's one nude scene, and it's me. It's my late 40s saggy body just in front of Jeffrey Epstein, just bumming him out. I'm glad that I was able to cosmically bum that guy out before he left this planet.
That might be the greatest answer I've heard to a question.
No, yeah, you at least have the honor of saying you were in it, unlike anyone else. Listen, before we talk about your new comedy tour and your new comedy special, I wanted to talk about the Comedy All-Stars that's actually happening tomorrow. So can you tell us a little bit about the event and why Comedy Gives Back is so important to you?
Comedy Gives Back is this amazing organization that provides like healthcare funds, mental health funds for comedians. Doing comedy is a very risky business. There is not a set salary. It goes up, it goes down. You have good years and bad years when you really commit to it. And so this is to give people a little bit of a safety net, a little bit of breathing room so they can, stick to it when they get into, how expensive healthcare is right now. And it's all these amazing comedians, the alt comedy all-stars, Bob Odenkirk and Brian Posehn, me, Mary Lynn Ricecub, John Hamm's going to drop by. There's a couple other people dropping by that I can't say yet, but it's at the Maltabon Theater tomorrow night in LA, and this is the third year we've done it, and it's always a massive event, and it's always so much fun.
That's incredible. Now, when thinking about DC coming back, doing a show in the nation's capital, especially now, you have the government. We're also known as kind of the nerd Hollywood, nerd prom type stuff, right? That's kind of our thing. So when you do comedy here, like, what are some things that you take from inspiration-wise to make a joke about this city and do it in like the best way possible?
I'll tell you one thing about doing comedy in DC, especially in the city or close to it. I'll be in Bethesda.
Right.
You can go twice as harsh politically on either side, because people that actually work on the Hill and in politics come and see you and go, yeah, they are kind of idiots. Like, because I work for them, I know. Like, I have gotten away with way darker, way harsher stuff when I played DC than anywhere else, because when you're making fun of the business that is the basis for the company town you're in, they really want to hear it. They need that release. So when I'm in DC, I've always really let fly. And after shows, people come up and go, that guy you were making fun of, I work for him, and that's exactly what he's like. Like,
wow.
It's all really cool inside baseball, and I love it.
Right.
So before your show at the Strathmore here in Bethesda, you're dropping your new comedy special, Tea and Scotch. So I wanted to ask about the name first and foremost, the inspiration for it, if you have a preference of one over the other. And I also wanted to ask you about the strategy of releasing it straight to YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been watching other comedians putting stuff out on YouTube, and you're watching the views they get and the immediate feedback they get. On the day that it comes out, the first hour that it drops, I'm going to be in the comments talking to people as we watch it. You can really connect with your fans more. I mean, when I'm putting out specials, I'm ultimately putting them out so I can keep doing more stand-ups. So you can keep your name out there. And right now, YouTube, and especially this new platform, Gorilla Comedy Plus, is so much more efficient and widespread for connecting with your fans. It really feels so much more immediate, and the turnaround is so much quicker. You can shoot a special, you can just basically shoot it yourself, and in a couple of months have it up, rather than wait for it all to be edited and then the platform puts it up like 9 months later. There's an amazing comedian named Josh Johnson who basically puts up almost a new hour every night just on his YouTube channel. Like, here it is, I'm doing it. So the more immediacy, the immediacy factor of it for me really sold me, and this is kind of how I want to do it.
Do you think with the social media era compared to years ago when you did a special and you could do a tour without people knowing what you said, right, the cameras and all that, do you think that does the immediacy help comics really iterate their specials more or their material, or do you think potentially it can hurt specials and acts as time goes on because people may see it or hear it from a friend?
There's a positive and a negative to it.
Yeah.
The huge positive is that there's less gatekeepers. There's more ways for voices, especially more marginalized or weird or original voices, to get out there and connect with their fans. The bad news is the one thing young comedians don't have that I had coming up. I started in DC. I started in the summer of '88. Was the first 6 years of my career, I had time in the wilderness. This was before social media. This was before cameras in people's pockets. Yeah. And you had years to really figure out who you were and what your voice was. Now, people going up at open mics, some of them are being filmed their very first set. And a lot of times you can get stamped early on with something that you are going to grow out of. But because now that's out in the zeitgeist, it's hard to break out of that mold. So there's these two extremes that are happening right now. And that actually gets back to your question earlier. Tea and Scotch, for me, is the symbol of the extremes that we seem to live in now. I mean, obviously, I'm drinking some tea right now.
Nice.
A nice, relaxing cup of tea, but then sometimes you need a bracing, harsh gulp of Scotch. And you guys work in the news business. I can't imagine what you guys are like right now. I have friends who are journalists who say the old days you would go to lunch for like an hour with other people that worked at other papers and you'd mull over your stories. But now, every time you refresh your browser, there's some massive story that you need to jump on and cover. There isn't, so we're living in the world of tea and Scotch right now. Everything is very bracing and breaking, but it's also very harsh. It's I don't know how much more of this we can take. We need maybe something a little calmer,
Yeah, no question. I joke all the time about how my drugs of choice are caffeine all morning and then alcohol all night. And it does the trick. But listen,
it's a consistent flow.
You just mentioned that you got your start here in D.C., and I mean, you are far from the only comedian. I mean, some of the biggest names, Dave Chappelle, John Mulaney, Mike Birbiglia. I mean, when people think of D.C., I don't think they necessarily think of like a funny town. Does this city have something special?
Yeah, I mean, the city itself, it's a grid laid out on top of a spiral. The way the city is mapped out is crazy quilt. Like, there is such, and also you are in the center of presumably where the world gets decided, like where the direction of the world gets decided, and you see how farcical and clumsy it all is. So of course you're going to get, I feel like, some really extreme funny. I mean, my first time on stage, I was 19. It was in July of 1988. I think was also Dave Chappelle's first time on stage at Garvin's. He was 14, I was 19. And he went up and was like instantly brilliant. Like he was 14 and it felt like he'd been doing it for like 30 years. Like that's how immediately good he was. And I had the luxury of eating it my first time on stage. So I had nowhere to go but up. I had time. He just rocketed out of the gate. So yeah, and also like I think just Virginia, Maryland, D.C., that whole corridor has produced some pretty extreme artists and creative thinkers. Everyone from John Waters to Wanda Sykes.
Yeah.
They're all such original voices that come out of this area. But because it's so un-Hollywood, and it's so kind of seems like this non-area, that it's surprising when you find out who actually came out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things we were just talking about was, of course, this social media craze. We see a lot of sketch comics, influencer types go out and they'll sell out at DC Improv, they'll sell out a comedy club, and then they'll bomb, basically to say, right? Because they don't have those chops yet. Do you think that there's something to be said for when some comics talk about you got to kind of have your comedy years, you have 10 years of really roughing it, getting your act. Do you think that is applicable, and do you think potentially the social media in the clip era can maybe cheapen that process?
There is no way ultimately to get around that process. You can do weird shortcuts and life hacks and cheat codes that will get you there earlier. Like you said, the influencer that, forget selling out the Improv. I've seen influencers sell out the Ford Theater, the Warner Theater, the Wisner Auditorium, and then they get up there and they've got nothing to say.
Nothing.
I always feel I'm not like, ha ha. I just feel like you could have been, if you had just had the 10 years in the wilderness that we all had, you could have developed into something good, but the algorithm didn't allow you to do that because you hit on 2 minutes that got 50 million views, and that is what is currency now. And they rush a lot of these people toward these shows. And again, the venue, all the venue sees is, well, we sold all these tickets, we're going to sell all these drinks, we need the money. Then they don't realize what sucks for us is people go see that and they walk away not going, well, I'm never going to go see that influencer again. They walk away going, well, I'm never going to go see stand-up comedy again. I didn't know it was that bad. And it hurts everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's it's just, you need your time in the wilderness. You need, we need to bring back the Beatles doing 8 shows a day at a German strip club for a year. We need to bring back Jimi Hendrix being on tour with the Isley Brothers, and just like being on stage every single night and becoming what he was to become. I want, and a lot of these voices are really original and amazing, but you can have an amazing, look, I had an amazing 2 or 3 minutes about a year into my career, and if I'd had social media, I'm sure I would have posted it and gotten all these followers, and they might have put me in some club, and there was no way I was ready to do that. There was no way I was ready to headline a club. So I hope that people are going to start bringing, and it does feel like there's a lot of Gen Alpha and beyond that are beginning to realize that.
Yes.
And are rejecting the social media and going, no, you'll see my stuff when I'm ready. And that is going to be such a big explosion when the younger generation figures out how to do that. It's hard to resist the lure of 50 million people clicked on my thing. Oh my God, that's very hard to resist that. I don't think I could have resisted that, but there will be way wiser, way more put together young people coming down the road than me that will figure that out and know how to make the algorithm work for them. They'll make the algorithm chase them rather than the other way around.
Love it.
And I mean, failure is important, and it's hard to fail in the spotlight with social media constantly pointing that out and not giving you that chance to kind of get to the level that people like you have made it to.
And if you have a big enough and memorable enough failure early on that ends up getting the clicks, that's what you become. You're that guy that totally turfed out doing this. But everyone has turf out sets. I had sets coming up that if they had been filmed, that's all I would be known for, is these cosmically awful sets that Tolstoy couldn't have written. How tragic they were. So
it's a great word, tragic.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
I wish that a lot of these younger people coming up, I wish them time in the wilderness and time to fail. And I wish someone's got to recreate those rooms where no one in that room can help you and no one in that room can hurt you. Do whatever you want and just work it out for yourself.
Yep, no one can help you. That visual just stuck with me.
So
Someone's got to start an open mic and have a huge cell phone signal blocker in the middle of the room.
You're giving us ideas over here.
Yeah.
That's a good
Hey,
show
so
idea.
listen, you talked about Josh Johnson uploading, an hour basically a night. So what other stand-ups out there are you like obsessed with right now? Who's killing it? Who do you have your eye on?
I mean, there's a guy named Chris Fleming, just had an HBO special that is just really messing around with the form of comedy. He reminds me a lot of what Maria Bamford did back in the day, where not only is he funny, he's actually messing around with how you think comedy should be delivered, and it's all brilliant. It's all brilliant. And then you got people like Robbie Hoffman, who's just incredible. And then you also have, what I also love are the people that have been doing it for a long time that are having these great evolutions and second wins. So like Mark Maron has always been brilliant, but is now like kicked into this different gear that he's now in that I think even he's surprised by. Like, wow, this is, his mind is really opened up even further. Like, I love new voices, but I also love the voices that have been at it for a while, that have been at it for so long that they can really kick open something new. Mark Maron, and same with this comedian named Jackie Cation. Jackie Cation has hit some other gear. I don't know what afterburner has kicked in for her, but she's just destroying. So you got this great combination of up-and-coming people like Chris Fleming and James A. Castor and Robbie Hoffman, and then people like Jackie Cation and Mark Maron that are showing the youngsters this is what you can enjoy when you really, really stick with this for a long time.
Now, when you're building out a special, for example, like you're doing with the YouTube special, and then doing a tour like this, what does it look like for your process to go into the lab, as a lot of comics will say, to go in there, to practice, to find the act? How do you do your setups? How do you do your punchlines? What does that process look like for a special for you versus your touring?
Well, I mean, a tour, basically when I'm doing a special, and this is the rule that I follow, once you put out a special, you can't really do that material anymore.
Yeah.
To do stuff, they've seen it. And I'm not very precious about my method. My thing is I go on stage as many nights as I can, and I do it. And there's just no other way to do it. I wish I could, I do sit and write. Here is my notebook.
Nice.
Old school Marvel copy book.
That is really old school.
It is. Look how beat up this book
I know,
is.
right?
Yeah.
That's how you know there's a lot of writing being done. Look at that, like the little bookmarks and all that. Yeah.
Oh, but you can write and write and write, but you got to go on stage and you got to go up and do the open mics and get in the little rooms, where, yeah, they're happy to see you initially, like, oh, that guy's on TV, but then I paid money. It's Tuesday night. You do something funny, man. Like, you can't just go up there and bask. So I like rooms where they're respectful, but they're not impressed. You be funny, dude. And so that, and also hang out with people that are funnier than you. When I go do one of my shows at the Largo, or I do a night at the Comedy Store, I'm surrounded by people like a Kevin Nealon, or a Mark Maron, or a Laurie Kilmartin, who are leagues funnier than me, and that always hang out with people that are funnier than you. That will make you funnier.
Yeah.
Patton, you're an actor, you're a comedian, you're a writer in alphabetical order, but you're also a dad. So I'm a new dad myself, and I kind of wanted to just talk to you about, so 3.5 months, daughter. So,
are they, hang on, 3.5 months, are they just getting out of the blob stage where they're starting to like...
Yes, very much so. She's curious about everything, grabbing her feet, looking around, can kind of hold her head up. Oh, yeah. Having earrings and long hair can be a danger zone. But so one of the things I'm curious about, and I know that there is a bit in tea and Scotch about this, and your daughter calling you dude, and you kind of pumping the brakes on that. As a comedian and as a father, like, what comes first? If your kid cracks you up, is it just funny, or do you have to kind of put on the father face and kind of hit the brakes on it?
Whenever my daughter would do something funny, we would always immediately laugh and encourage that. Like, that's it. When you see them coping with the world by making jokes and going, oh boy, look at this, you always always encourage that. And also just like what you don't, what a lot of people don't realize is they think that like time with my kid has got to be amazing, and I've got to plan this insane trip and this activity and this activity. What really matters is that you're just hanging out with them. That even when things are boring, that you're hanging out with them, and the two of you are trying to figure out how not to be bored. So instead of going, I got to plan a trip to Disneyland, and it's got to be this. Go to the grocery store together. Make jokes about some of the cereal on the thing. Have her try to grab a balloon and just like talk and like that. Those are the times they will remember way more than the huge events that you plan. We were out running errands one day and we went to this weird store and there were these funny masks, and then so we put them on and we were just like goofing around. That's the stuff. Just hang out with them and let them lead the way. Let them be, oh, you're curious about that? Let's go check it out.
Now, I got to ask you this. So you have, of course, this story career, actor, comedian, all this stuff, but also I'm hearing narrator, potentially, of a Stephen King book. I heard this. Now, I got to tell you, I think it's a great fit, but I have to ask you, as someone who's comedic, doing a Stephen King novel is very scary at times and can be just bat mind crazy, right? So my question is, how do you find that comedic sense and also balance that dramatic and keep people kind of in that scary persona?
Well, the mechanics of comedy and fear are the same thing. It's the setup and then the punchline. So, it's all misdirection, and then you either try to get a laugh or a shriek. And Stephen King understands that a lot of his books use humor to disarm you, and then he jumps out of the dark screaming at you. By the way, your daughter is 3 months old. My daughter is 16 now, has been reading Stephen King since she was like 12 and like loves it.
Okay.
Wow.
You'll realize the great thing about being a dad is you will realize, and this will get back to your question.
Yeah.
You'll realize a lot of things are kind of universal. Like the Beatles are just universal. There will be a moment. Don't play like kiddie versions of songs. Play the stuff you like, and you'll see her responding to it. Little kids love the Beatles. They love the Ramones, not because of the lyrics, just because of the bouncing up and down.
Yeah.
It's so happy. And weirdly, if Elton John, the way his voice goes high and low and high, you'll see them respond to that like, what is he doing?
Right.
But with Stephen King, reading the novel, because I've been reading. I mean, my whole childhood was Stephen King.
Yeah.
I read The Stand when I was 10. And that's not a brag. I should know.
Wow. Yeah. That's like watching Silence of the Lambs when I was 8. That was not a good idea.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And
He's never been the same.
To me, that was now fava beans and Chianti. I get a little bit uptight when I see that because I keep thinking about that from years ago. But sorry, I don't mean to derail. But like, it's so fascinating, narrating a incredible author like that. But bringing your really warm delivery, I think, to that environment can be really cool.
But it's that kind of warm, folksy delivery that Stephen King uses and weaponizes to get you into the world. And when you read some of his novels, that it starts off, characters are worried about, all right, I got this much left over from my paycheck. We could get McDonald's, but we got leftovers. That'll save us some money. And you're like, this is real life. This is what I do. And then something fantastical comes into it. So I think hopefully my very folksy, very normal voice is what's going to help set up the fantastical and the frightening. I mean, there's scenes in the original Talisman. I'm reading a Talisman sequel by Stephen King and Peter Straub. As much as the original Talisman is ultimately a very uplifting and fun book, there's some genuinely terrifying sequences in that, especially when they go to the other version of that reformatory that the kid gets sent to, but he's in the parallel worlds version of that reformatory where it's basically just hell, and that still like really sticks with me. It's terrifying. So he's very good at mixing the mundane and the everyday with the oh my god, and making it all seem very, very real.
Wow. And we've covered almost a lot of the hats that you wear. I'm just kind of curious, when people come up to you on the street, what do they most recognize you for? What do you like to be most recognized for?
I mean, it really, really depends. It's a lot of King of Queens, because King of Queens is on apparently all the time.
It's constantly syndication.
A lot of King of Queens, a lot of Ratatouille if they recognize my voice, which is that always feels gratifying that they're sharp-eared enough to go, oh, that's the rat, that's him. That always feels good. And then like a lot of stand-up stuff. I mean, I'm very, very lucky to have the fans that I have and to have people remember what it is that I do and that I get to keep. I'm not in this business to get out of this business. I'm not in this business to make a killing. And then I like doing creative. I can't think of anything else I'd rather do with my day. So I'm just happy that I get to keep doing this.
I have a personal soft spot, though, for your role in Parks and Rec. It will always be one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, that was really, again, I think people forget why that scene is so funny. Yes, I'm rattling stuff off, but it's the stuff that Amy Poehler is adding and John Glazer and Chris Pratt, the way that they're riffing off of what I'm doing. It just shows you how amazing all of those guys are. They can add to it without trying to, it really is, it's so gratifying that I get remembered for that scene.
Well, it's almost as though like all the comics have like this cosmic ability to work off each other, right? And be able to kind of know what cues are happening, improv, and you just have that from those muscles that you build. My final question deals with the podcast and comedy world that we're seeing. Late night shows are coming to an end, potentially. We're seeing that. Do you think podcasts, for comics in particular, is a good muscle to really get your comedy moving, or is it just another potential growth area for comics to get their name out there or get their hosting chops going?
It depends on how you're using your podcast. A lot of podcasts are basically just bulletin boards for people's upcoming shows.
Yeah.
And then that person, even though they're very charming, a lot of them ultimately don't have a lot to say. There are certain people, though, like a Tim Heidecker, who really makes his podcast into a whole other world. There's a podcast by a guy named Christian Duguay called Valley Heat that is it is just genuinely brilliant comedy in itself, you know. So it depends on who's doing the podcast and what they want to use it for. But a lot of them gets kind of like snake eating its own tail, where it's people just going on each other's podcasts, and then they just talk about other podcasts. So think of some kind of original angle. I did a podcast for a while with my wife, and after a while I was just like, we're not really bringing anything to the form. Like, we're not doing anything original here. We're talking and trying to keep it funny, but there has to be something else to do here. So
hook.
You know, if I ever do a podcast again, there's got to be something new that will make it. I got to add some kind of level of creativity rather than promotion to it.
Got it.
A lot of, if it's all promotion, then that's anti-creativity to me.
Well, we're here to promote your show coming up at the Strathmore, June 20th. Thank you, Patton, for spending nearly a half an hour with us here in Washington area. We love you. Thank you so much. Congratulations on all your.
No,
there's no such thing, man. We were honored
we go for 2 hours.
to spend this much time with you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pat. You're
Have
awesome.
a great show. Have a great summer.
Good luck. I'll see you in June.
Thanks.
All right. All clear.
Definitely play Beatles for your daughter.
Oh, don't worry. I've got it all on vinyl. We are already looking forward to it.
All right. Oh, by the way, here's a little. I didn't want to say this on the air. Little fun tidbit you can spring on your friends. That line you mentioned from Silence of the Lambs. I ate his liver with some fava beans in it. This isn't anything I know, but one of my psychiatrists told me this. When he says that line, I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice candy.
You're right.
Liver, beans, and red wine you can't have when you're on SSRI suppressors, when you're on antipsychotic drugs.
Really?
They counterindicate. So that's Hannibal's way of saying I was off my meds when I did that.
Interesting.
Right. Because the setup before it.
I wasn't he names the three things you can't have. You're on your antipsychotic, so that's the way I'm going. I was not taking my medicine.
Oh my god, that is really funny.
Levels to this shit.
No, I love all that stuff, and I love what you said about the podcast thing. Is I'm in the social media world, and like I'm thinking people saying you should get a podcast, you get a couple 100,000 people, you should do it. I'm like, no, I have nothing original. There's no hook.
Yes.
There's no like, I don't want to sit on a couch and just go like it's too much.
Yeah.
So like, I love hearing you say that.
Did you see this in the news?
Right.
What's going on?
Like, where's the hook? Like, Adam Freeland's got a pretty good show. He's got a pretty good hook, and like that, like the late
Yeah, because he goes deep with things.
Yes.
A lot of them, they're not really risking anything. They're just reaffirming what they already agree with, and it's like, okay, that's not a show then.
Right.
You know?
It's right. It's just, again, like, and I think that's why late night needs to come back in some form, but we got to figure out how.
And again, there will be a new form. People always innovate, but the form we have right now, part of it needs to go away so that someone can think of a new way to do it.
Good point.
I think that's a great way of looking at it. Patton, have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you so
This
much.
is awesome.
Oh, thank you guys so much.
You're
Thank
the man.
you. I'll
You're
see
the
you guys
man.
soon.
See you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.